See, did you ever mess up a project after being more than halfway done?
Yeah, I saw that question. Yes, often.
Okay.
Uh, I don't, maybe not mess up. I think it's important to look at it as like, you go in with a plan, and it's not like if it doesn't work according to plan, you throw it out. It's like you just change the plan as you go.
Right.
So, like with, I don't know, with like the pens, the finishing is like, it's after you're more than halfway done, but it's like a whole process, and sometimes
Right.
it doesn't work out, and you kind of have to start over and sand it down or change the shape a little. But yes, I've definitely screwed things up, but nothing, nothing that cannot be fixed in some way.
So I think in a way you've answered this next one, which is it still possible to get a job in the future involving woodworking when you have just started doing woodworking?
Yeah.
So, but you kind of need to be in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if I had known that this is what I wanted to do, I think I would have maybe tried to put myself into those positions, like maybe go to some of these furniture shops and
Right.
see, because a lot,
Paid more attention in woodshop class?
of course, wish I had taken woodshop class. But yeah, like, just, people need help. Like, there are jobs, so, maybe you'll be sweeping the floors, but I think the most important thing for me, honestly, was just having access. So whatever I was doing, if I was in a wood shop that I could work in the morning or work at lunch or work after work and just kind of mess around and, not mess around, be safe, obviously, but just get comfortable using the tools. Like I'm like, the first shop that I worked in had a joiner, and I didn't know what a joiner was.
Right.
Never used it. Had the helical head blade,
Yeah.
and it was terrifying. Like,
Oh,
just
yeah.
this giant exposed, like, spinning blade, and I had no idea what it was, how to use it.
And
But
if it's like ours, it's very noisy.
yeah, really loud, like really
Yeah.
like intimidating. But and again, I had no couldn't even say what it was. Like,
Right.
if I had walked in, the first time I walked in, I could not point to the machines and say the names of any of them.
Right.
Even the table saw, it was like this giant, like, sliding table
Right.
saw. Like, I didn't even know that it was a saw. But just like being there, it was just important. Like, just really made it so much easier to learn.
Cool. Let's
move on.
talk about woodworking, the actual process itself. Is there a type of wood that you prefer to work with?
Not. I like domestic woods. I think like walnut, white oak, and cherry are probably my three. I like the way they smell. I like the way that they work. I like the way that you can get a finish on them. They're smooth. I mean, white oak kind of has
White
these
oak
open
is
pores.
a little rough.
Yeah, there's big open pores, but like quarter sawn white oak, I think is just the coolest thing in the
Yeah.
world. They're available. I mean, a lot of the furniture shops are working with a lot of walnut these days, so
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah, the exotic woods are cool, but they smell kind of weird. They're hard. Wengi is like splintery.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's fun. It's beautiful, but I like the domestic stuff.
So, how do you actually make the wooden pens?
So the wooden pens, I kind of think of it more as like assembling them, because you buy a pen kit that has all the hardware. You take your wood blank, drill a hole in it, glue a brass tube into it, mount it on a lathe on a mandrel, put some pressure on it to keep it steady, turn it to the shape you want, and then you kind of press it together with I use a bar clamp. Yeah, it's just, I don't know, actually I have a pen here that I made.
Demo. Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah, so this,
Burley something.
one of my neighbors they were cutting down a tree in the last, at one of the places that he was working at, and he took a big, I don't know, a cookie out of it,
Right.
and he was storing it in the basement of our apartment complex for the year the 2 years that I was living there. And when I was moving out, he was basically like, just take it. Like, I'm never going to do anything with this.
Wow.
So I took it, and then I kept it for another year because I was like, oh, we can make a cool table or something. But finally, this, like, 3 days ago, before I came here, I was like, I'm never going to make a table out of this. I just want to cut it up, and like, it's so cool. Like, I just need to do something with it.
Nice.
But yeah, so you basically make a tube, mount it on the lathe, make it into a circle, apply your finish. This is super glue, polished super glue, and then you press all of these components onto it. And
Well, how much is the kit?
so the cheapest ones are like just these little basic twist pens.
Right.
Those, I think, I mean, you can get them for as cheap as like $2 for the
Oh,
kit.
wow.
So I had a bunch of those at first because it was easy. The lengths of the tubes are the same. It's not like very complicated.
Right.
This was probably maybe like $8 to $12
Okay.
for the kit. But you can, there's a few websites that sell a bunch of different things. You
Right.
can kind of find the one you like. And some of them are some of them have like the price that you pay, and then there's like bulk pricing. So if you buy 1 to 10, it's this price, 10 to 50 is this other price.
Right.
And they have some information on like what they typically sell for sometimes. Like if you buy it, you have the option to give them information that they post on the website. Like, like these sell for whatever, costs 14, they sell for 80 or something.
Right.
Price things out.
So are all the live edge pieces the same? I'm not quite sure what that question means.
I would say all the live edge pieces are different,
Okay.
which I think is what kind of draws some
Because
people
of
to
the
them.
live edge,
Yeah, they're kind
right.
of fun. They're nice. They're nice because they're easy because it's all kind of done. Like, it's all what you're looking for is like the beauty of the natural wood.
Right.
So you can do a very simple finish on it. You don't need to worry about, a complicated edge profile. You don't need to worry about a lot of things. But you just have to clean it up nice and make it pretty. But
So where do you usually do your work? You have a workshop of your own?
so I have a garage workshop that I do a lot. I try to do most of my things in. The wood shop that I work at also, when I need to use, they have just kind of a bigger table saw, more space to move around and assemble, but mostly at this point it's in the garage.
Okay. What was the hardest project you've ever done so far?
It's a tough one. I was thinking about it. I was trying to figure it out. I think that the things that I find difficult, it's kind of like the more complex it gets, so the bigger it gets, the more. I was working for a woodworker in Portland, helping him out on this. It was like a full, probably maybe 14-foot wall that we were installing cabinets, a countertop, and then a shelving unit on the top. And the wall came up, and then it was whatever, vaulted or something, and it went over a door. So we built, the toe kick and the cabinet doors and the counter.
Oh, wow.
And then the shelving unit had to go up and around a door, and it had to follow the profile of the ceiling. And anything that's getting installed is nothing square, and the floor isn't flat.
So that's kind of taking it to another level. That's like cabinet making.
Yeah. That was just very stressful, very, very difficult, because it's something that's being installed, so you're making the things, and you have to take all your measurements, drive to the shop, make everything, drive to the place, see if it fits, and you're talking about a 14-foot cabinet, so you got to bring it in, and then if it doesn't fit, you got to bring it back. And I remember that just being very, very stressful. At one point, we made the countertop, and it was all vertical grain fir, SVG fir. It's popular in Portland, but it's kind of soft. It's a soft.
So it's a
It's a
coniferous.
coniferous. Yeah, it's an evergreen tree.
Yep.
It's like this orange. You get like these long, straight vertical grain boards that are, really pretty, and they match a lot of the older existing trim and stuff in Portland.
Right.
But it's soft, and I just didn't have a lot of experience working with those kinds of woods. So sanding down the countertop was tough with an orbital sander, and the guy I was working for was just very particular. And
Right.
we ended up, I sanded the whole thing and I started staining it, but I hadn't sanded well enough
Yep.
because I was scared of sanding, too
Too
far,
much, right.
sanding valleys. So then I had to sand it all again, and then he sanded it all down again and like kind of showed me how I was supposed to have done it. And then we did it again, it all worked. And then when we were installing it, I had a utility knife in my pocket, and we had the counter on the ground, and I went down to pick it up, and the utility knife fell out right onto it. And it was fine, but it was just like every step of it was so stressful. But yeah, that was probably the most difficult.
So what's your most favorite? Do you have a fave?
Favorite project that I have worked on specifically? Not really. I like just like the last thing that I did, kind of like I'm very into like I get really excited about doing something, and I'm like, this is gonna be great, it's gonna be so much fun, and then you do it and then it's like
And that's what's next.
yeah, like okay, I don't want to do that again. That's been like a struggle with like the pens, because I started and I was like, wow, this is so cool. It uses these tiny scraps. It's like so much fun, so cool. I did it, but it's like the next one I want to be like different. So I was doing like gluing together pattern blocks, or like trying to find different kinds of wood. But it's like, if you want to sell products, sometimes you need to make more than one of the same thing. So.
Right. So the question is, how long does it take for you to make a specific product? But I'm going to guess that that's going to vary. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean this probably took about 2 hours. But this was it would have taken a lot less, but I sanded through the finish, so I had to re-sand it.
Right.
And I was doing a wet sanding, so it was wet, so I had to dry it, sand it, reapply the finish, and then re-polish it. But I mean, if you get in a groove, these kinds of pens could take less than an hour. I don't know what else.
How long did the whole cabinet job take?
That was probably like 3 weeks to a month.
Wow.
Yeah.
And where do you get your ideas for projects?
Follow a lot of people on Instagram. I watch a lot of YouTube videos. The woodworking YouTube was like that was my teacher. So I have many subscriptions, and whenever I see something cool, I'm like, let's save that. I want to try that.
Give it a try. Yeah.
I really like antique stores and garage sales.
Right.
So that's good for inspiration, kind of looking at old stuff and just seeing what was popular, how they
Right.
were doing things. Yeah, I think it's important to just like kind of get everything into your head, and then when you see something, you'd be like, oh, I think I know what I want to do here. Like, I have this, I'll just kind of
All right.
throw a few things together.
So I've gotten through all the questions the students had. So you're basically off the hook unless you want to make any closing remarks.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's great to have a shop class. I really hope that, I don't know what kind of project you guys do, but I would love to have had the opportunity to kind of get my feet wet with this kind of stuff earlier.
I will drill
really-
that home to them.
Yeah. I really do think about, because when I was in high school, certain things were important to me. There were certain things that I thought, this is what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life,
Right.
whether it's sports or whatever. And now it's like, I couldn't imagine, like, but if I never looked at a lacrosse stick again for the rest of my life, it's like, I don't care. It's
Right.
not important anymore. So it's hard to say, maybe that would have happened with woodworking if I had started earlier, but I really think that it's a great thing to get into for many reasons.